about we dive into some legal talk, or more specifically, some legal questions with our friends at Shrader Law. Of course, Shrader Law, full service when it comes to litigation, assisting consumers with personal injury, criminal defense, and even consumer protection. Brian is back with us today. How are you, Brian?
Doing well. How are you, Natalie?
I'm well. I think it's so interesting. We just dive into questions because I'm assuming you get so many phone calls each day of just these questions that we think we may know, which we really don't have any idea, or vice versa. So I know you've got a few of them picked out that I want to go ahead and throw at you. First one, when it comes to personal injury, I'm assuming people are always asking, how much is my personal injury case worth?
Oh, of course. It's the first question we get a lot of times. And there's really a lot of factors that go into it. The first factor, and this is provable through statistics, is you need to hire a good lawyer. That will increase the value of your claim, will also increase the speed with which your claim can be processed. You need a lawyer who's willing to go to trial, because the insurance companies know if the lawyer is just going to sit on a settlement offer and not do anything about getting it raised. You also need to have a lawyer who has the experience and the knowledge on how to work within the insurance industry. And finally, a lawyer has the resources to actually fund your case, because they're not going to get paid until the end. The second factor that weighs very heavily in the value of a claim is the extent of your injury. And we hear a lot in the news, and we see on the billboards, the $1 million settlements, $1 million verdicts. And there's somewhat of a saying amongst a lot of the marketing people that we work with in the PI injury field, that a lot of those $1 million checks are being held by people, but you don't see those pictures from the waist down. And that's because a lot of them, if they really got a $1 million settlement, may have had a very substantial injury, including being put in a wheelchair for the rest of their life. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand, is that if you just had a fender bender and you're not that injured, it's not guaranteed to be a lottery ticket. And so you need to have an attorney who can make the most out of your claim, who can help get you through medical treatment, to document injuries, to document the treatment you're going to need in the future, so that the true value of your claim, what your claim is actually going to be worth, is something that the insurance company has to contemplate when they're deciding what to pay for your claim. And finally, obviously, what matters to a lot of people in the personal injury realm is how much insurance coverage is available. And unfortunately, in Florida, we encounter a lot of cases with clients who have very serious injuries, who are very substantially injured and damaged, financially missed work, problems at home because of their injuries, and the other person just doesn't have any insurance coverage, or they have very minimal, maybe $10,000 in insurance coverage. And so it's important that people understand what uninsured motorist coverage is. And we get questions about this often. And uninsured motorist coverage helps cover you, and it's coverage that you purchase for yourself in case the other person who injures you is uninsured or underinsured. And that means your insurance company will have to step up and compensate you and make sure that you're taken care of and your injuries are paid for. And so everyone should be evaluating whether they have uninsured motorist coverage, and if they don't, they should be trying to get it.
Okay, I'm glad. I know there's always a lot of questions in Florida when it comes to auto insurance, so I'm glad you tackled those right out of the gate there. Let's switch to the other side of law, which you practice, of course, criminal law. I'm assuming people are always like, let's talk punishment. What do I need to know? I mean, that can be something that's really, really scary and has a lot of questions for people.
Sure. Yeah. The general question when people come in, they've been arrested, charged with a crime, is, am I going to go to jail? Am I going to go to prison? And the first thing that an attorney should advise you of is the worst news possible, which is the maximum sentence. They should be able to tell you, if you've been charged with a misdemeanor, especially if it's a first-degree misdemeanor, your maximum punishment is 365 days in jail. If you've been charged with a felony, they should know first-degree felony, second-degree, third-degree felony, how long that potential maximum sentence should be. Get that out of the way, understand what your maximum penalty is, and then go back and start talking about the next step, which would be, in a felony case, guidelines. Every charge has a numerical value assigned to it, and those numerical values can be put together in a formula, and there'll be a guideline sentence that is the starting point for a lot of plea negotiations. And you have to have an attorney who can calculate those guidelines so they can advise you on what you're potentially looking at.
Okay, we have under 30 seconds, but I've got one more to get in, and maybe this is a little based on Hollywood and television, which is something we were talking about early in the show. People think if you weren't necessarily read their rights, perhaps that changes the outcome in their case. Why is that not necessarily true? Because again, we're taught to believe, if you don't get your rights read, well, maybe you're going to be able to get off.
Yeah, a lot of people say, I wasn't read my rights, you can get my case dismissed, right? The only thing that applies to are statements that are made pursuant to questioning while you're in custody. It does not negate your arrest or your charges.
Get that in there, right, Brian? Hey, there's the information so you can get in touch with Brian and his team today. There's the website, phone number. And again, Brian, we appreciate you being a part of our show.